This board started giving me anxiety. So it's time to make some changes, if you will, with our GPU test bench. Okay, so this is our GPU test bench. I'm gonna be making some changes to it here. Right now it's got the 9850 X3D in there. That's not what our GPU benchmarks have been run on. It has been run on the 9800 X3D. Not this one though, this is a different one. Since I'm going to be redoing all of our GPU benchmarks and updating them, driver updates, some Windows version updates have changed some of the performance on some of these things. It's time to, like annually, it's probably important to go through and really redo a lot of them. Gonna be changing some titles, adding some titles, getting rid of some other ones that had some weird scaling issues when it gets down to the lower end GPUs. But the last year taught us a lot. Also, the last year taught us that we have really been taking some serious risks with this Taichi X870E board. I want to preface this with, we have not had a problem with our board. We also do not believe that because we haven't had a problem with the board, that doesn't mean that there isn't a problem. Jeez, why is that? Okay, that EPS does not. It took the whole thing off the board.
Okay, maybe not decide we should just stop using this board now. That's the universe telling you for sure, dude.
It legit took the whole freaking, hold on. There we go. Dude. Okay, that's a first. I have literally never had that happen before. I have unplugged this 1,000 times and I've never had that happen before. That's a first. I've never had one of these come off in a motherboard. Okay, we'll look at that once I get the board out. I am very clumsy today. I dropped a 96 gig set of RAM over there a second ago. We looked at it, it was $1,300. What I was trying to get back to here, new motherboard actually from ASUS that we're gonna be trying out. Here's the funny thing about that. I know you guys are gonna be like, ASUS, what's up to ASUS? But we, for the longest time, not used ASUS. We have been using Gigabyte. I have a Gigabyte at home. I have Gigabyte at my workstation. Your board is actually an ASUS board because there's the workstation board, the WS board, the Sage Pro. But that's Threadripper. We had 3 boards to choose from, and 2 of them were ASUS, and it's just the one we ended up with. But this is ASRock. We've been using ASRock since the X670E came out with the 7000 series AMD CPUs. This board over here is an MSI. I think Nick's system is also running a Gigabyte. So it's been a while since I've actually run an ASUS board, and I'm curious with this 9800 X3D, because I have 3 of them, if this might be a slightly better clocker. I don't want to utilize our only 9850 X3D that we have in the GPU benchmark rig, because I want to be able to try that in other scenarios or whatnot, because our GPU benchmark system gets really locked down. Like, we lock the frequencies, we lock the voltages, we lock everything. That way the only variable is the GPU. But I'm curious if this one will clock higher than 5.3, which is as far as my other one can go. I've seen so many reports of people getting 5.4 and 5.5 out of theirs. And I know I've mentioned this before, but when Steve was here, he said he gets 5.5 out of his all day long. So I know I can get that out of the 9850 X3D, but again, I don't want to utilize that in this rig and then not be able to use it for anything else. Gonna be hanging on to the same RAM. I thought I had faster RAM than this. I'd have to look through all of our kits, but this is the 6000 Megatransfer CL28 32 gig set of G.Skill. Nothing crazy, it's just it's the Flare X5, no RGB, none of that, doesn't matter. I'm gonna be changing our AIO as well. This EK AIO is pretty old. We've had it for a long time, and I'm starting to hear bubbles percolate in it. So it could be potentially starting to evaporate, if you will. So it's the perfect opportunity to check out the new Vortex from Antec. They did send this over for review, and the best way to really review it is gonna be to put it in the system and see how well it does. Interesting thing with this though, is I wanna see what kind of a performance hit. Actually, it wouldn't be much of a performance hit if we left the software running, but for the GPU, it wouldn't affect our GPU scores at all. But here's the thing. What sort of sucks is I can't leave like hardware info running because I can't see it when the game is full screen, right? When the game is full screen, I can't see the temperatures, I can't see what's happening with the voltages, I can't see what's happening with the wattages, I can't see what's happening with the boost clocks on the GPU, because part of doing a GPU benchmark is validating that all the things that are supposed to be happening are happening. Full boost, what's the temperature staying like? Are we having some weird temperature spikes or something? So what I would have to do is then do like a full run and then go back and look at the data. What this would allow me to do, I'm hoping with this 5-inch 720p screen, yeah, it's a 1280 by 720p screen, is I'm hoping I'll be able to put some information on here like a dashboard where I can see GPU temperature and all that, so I can at least do sanity checks while the test is running, like, okay, everything is doing what it's supposed to do. Because there's been a lot of times where something somewhere freaked out, driver issue, whatever. Usually sometimes the press drivers might have weirdness with them when they're sent for review and they're early, where the card may not boost fully, or it's just something's weird. And we're noticing like, wow, this graphics card is just really underscoring where it should be. Why? Getting the data log is important, but being able to see it in real time on the screen is actually gonna be helpful to us too. So rather than having a sensor panel or another display hooked up to the graphics card, which can also affect its performance, I just am hoping that this will meet that need for us. It's also got the Gen 9 Antec pump on it, works with AMD and Intel. Apparently it's less than 16 dB of operational noise at 2800 RPM. It's supposed to be very, very quiet. This is a vertical mount, technically, because the board is laid flat on this test bench. But as long as I can just like look at it and have some information to go off of right at the start, that'll be nice. So first things first is I gotta tear this down. I gotta get the drive out of it. I'm gonna also change our power supply back to the 1500 watt. The MSI 1250, I think it's a 1250, has done fine, but because we also want to start preparing for whatever could be potentially coming that is being rumored up to 800 watts if the 5090 Ti or the Titan RTX or whatever is real, or like the Matrix card or the Lightning card. It's 1000 watts. I'm still trying to get my hands on one of those. I want to buy it. It's unobtainium right now. It's kind of like a unicorn. You just can't find them. I need to have a power supply that's going to have enough headroom for that. And even 1200 watts, that ain't enough. So let me get this torn down and then we'll unbox the motherboard, see what that has to offer us. Okay, so the PMD is wired up. Technically have I have a 90-degree stealth sense wire on this end. That's fine though, because the stealth sense signal is on this end, the little jumper. And get this. I just wish the PMD had all the inputs on one side and all the outputs on another side. That way it would be nice and neat, except for this 360 layout like this. It's kind of a pain in the butt. I'd rather it be a bigger, longer rectangle and be like all inputs, all outputs. Then it would be nice and neat. But I didn't design or make it. I have to be grateful for it to exist because I couldn't do this on my own. So you might be looking at this going, why is that all crooked? Phil asked me the very same thing. The one that's weird about this is the standoffs for the screen are smaller diameter than the hole. I think it's just an oversight on their part. I could switch that, I'm sure, but it's fine. It's not a problem. The connection's on this end and it still works. Anyway, okay, time to get the board ready. So let's take a look at this thing. I'm surprised the dark took this long to come out. I mean, geez, the X870E has been out for over a year.
Dang, SSD heatsink much?
I know. Dude, it's got a heat pipe and everything in there. Let's see, it is pretty. The dark boards have always been pretty. Oh, what is this? It's a contact pad of some sort.
I did see AIO underscore something next to it. Like
Yeah, AIO Pogo. Oh. Yeah, so that's pretty sick, actually. Okay, so you could mount down the AIO and it would just make contact right there. So that's pretty sick. We're not using that AIO though. We're using the Vortex because I want the screen and such. I like the matte black. That looks really good. You can tell I just don't savor the peels anymore.
I honestly think you lasted savoring those longer than most other tech tubers.
Most tech tubers like made a whole deal about it. My kid though still like is obsessed with peels. She's like, it's gotta be slow and it's gotta be like, you have to take your time and savor it. I'm just like, kid, do you know how many times I've peeled crap?
It's a test bench, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a test bench, but we can still have pride in it.
We can still have pride in it.
Push button release now, so it's no longer the tilt style. So you can see the retention tab moving right there.
Important for a GPU bench.
Yes. But I like how it's sloped like that. So when you put it down, just push it, it just disengages it. This should be toolless to come off. I'm not entirely sure how. Oh, ha, that's cool. Dude, look how fast you can take this apart.
Oh my God, that's so nice compared to like so many other ways.
And then just push it down. Okay, let me get my drive installed. Dude, that is beefy.
Seriously, that is an insane heatsink.
It's got a heat pipe in there too. And that slides the length of the entire mounting mechanism so that if you have a longer than a 2280 in there, that slide should also slide to shorter.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
See, it's right there. CPU time, that's pretty standard. All right, so we only need this bracket right here, which reuses the screws I just put over here. Can you tell we've done a lot of AMD builds? Because I always keep the brackets in here. Every one of these represent, well, okay, every pair of them represent a build. There, there, and there. The AIO is gonna plug into here using USB-C, so this is how it communicates with the software. So obviously if this was in a standard case like orientation, that's pretty neat because you could put this how you wanted. You could find the correct angle to point towards you, because that's the problem. You don't always know where your case is gonna be. So pointing at you is gonna be good. For me, it's gonna be pointing up no matter what. I might tilt it down a little bit like that. I wanna be careful with this. I don't wanna damage it. But what I have to do right now is I have to take off 2 of those screws and take the motherboard back off. That way I can mount them through my mount right there. And then before I do that, I need to pre-install the EPS. Actually, no, these usually draped across. I guess I could go under. But that's what's nice about this open test bench. Literally called the open bench table, is I can just do that and take it off. It's funny because I've always had people be like, the orientation of that cooler doesn't look right. Like your tubes are too high and pump and all that. It's been fine. I've never had any problems with it. That one just started to evaporate. That's years old. Like here, I'll show you guys. Having the tube be the highest spot is technically okay, but listen to the amount of slosh in this because of the evaporation over time. Let's see. So that one doesn't allow me to refill it or anything, but this should be fine. It really, I've never noticed any sort of an issue. If I wanted to too, I could technically zip tie the tubes down if I wanted. Because the highest row of the radiator is gonna be higher than the pump, and that's all that matters. I just had to bring this up because every single time, you guys are mounting it wrong. This is like, I feel like, if you've ever taken a look at like a P-51 or some sort of an old World War II airplane, you go, that flew? the way things were built back then, just to get it quick and out. It was about utility. It's exactly what this system is for us. But I like the fact that the screen sticks up higher than all that. There, now the tubes are lower than the top rad, or the top rows of the radiator. We should be good to go there. Just gotta wire this up. So there, AIO is installed. Okay, we'll do that last. Because obviously we need to take a look at the software and see what's on there. So this is pretty freaking cool. Like, it's kind of hard to see, but at the top, there's 4 rows of fan headers. At the bottom, there's rows of fan headers. They've got these little plugs that go in them. But it's really difficult to see which header's which because the board doesn't have a lot of space around it. So normally they'll write on the board, like I can see the top right, it says Q code. To the left of that, it says CHA1 fan 1, or fan, that's chassis 1 fan header. When you go to the manual, the outside of the manual, the actual, so it's a color-coded I/O layout. So you can see where all the headers are. You don't have to open the manual, just look at it. So now I know where things go. It's the little things. Emotional support 5090. Everyone should have one. All right, it is built. I guess now I can do it over there. Okay, now I can do it. Y'all want me to savor it? Here you go. Couldn't do it. I like the way this new BIOS looks. Cool, and then easy mode even has the fan control and everything right there. Okay, so admittedly, it's been a while. We've been playing around with the Vortex View 360, and this, okay, let me go ahead and back up a second here. My preconceived notion was it was just going to be a panel that can only display what iUnity was forcing it to be able to display. But that's only partially true, because it's actually a true 5-inch 720p dedicated screen for being able to show anything you want. So right now iUnity is open. You can see right here, like if I bring it up here, there's iUnity. I've already been kind of playing around with some of the dashboard. I got rid of some of the stuff, like I can turn on things I want to monitor, but obviously that's there and that's there. So what is happening? Right now you'll see over here, if I go to display, I've got this overlay kind of a display. Now this is what you're seeing over here, but let me go ahead and close down the software real quick and check this out. if I shut down iUnity, it is an actual screen that allows you, look at the little mouse. See, there's my mouse. See, I could put anything I wanted on there. So I don't know, like, there's a browser, right? It's legit a screen. Now the cool thing about this is typically if you wanted to have a sensor panel that used like, say, a Raspberry Pi screen or something, you'd have to use something like AIDA64 or some other third-party software that's actually pretty complicated to try and set up to actually be a sensor panel. Like, we've done plenty of videos about something like AIDA64, and it's very powerful. It's infinitely customizable. You can basically do anything you want with it. It gives you access to all the sensors in your system, but it's not free. It requires an actual subscription or a license to use, and that can expire and then your panel stops working. Or at least a lot of the features of your panel will stop working because a lot of those sensors and things are actually hidden behind the paywall. So this gives you like the middle ground, which I think is perfect for people that are like, I want to have an additional screen in my system. You don't have to worry about where to mount it. Obviously it mounts right here on top of your block. It's 360 ball mount, so you can twist and rotate this to be the perfect angle so you can see it, which most sensor panels, when you mount them, unless you make a custom bracket, are going to be flat and might be at a weird angle, and you might get reflection and glare and all kinds of weirdness. So you could have, if you wanted, iUnity up and sitting on a dedicated display that's not that, right? So you can still see things like your CPU temperature, technically this graphics temperature right here, this is the iGPU built into the CPU. Vortex cursor lock, that's interesting. We were like, why can't we get our cursor over there? So if you turn this on, it won't allow your cursor to actually, because I have it set up right now in display as if it's up here. You can't move the cursor over there. As you can see here, it's bouncing off the side of my main screen, which is good if you're doing like borderless windowed mode or something with gaming and a game that has a mouse. Otherwise your mouse could go right off the game. So it's kind of like a gaming lock. It's currently in beta, but if you turn that off, now the mouse, as you can see, moves its way over to here. Now that display looks kind of boring right there, right? Well, that's because I just barely kind of started playing around with it, but there are other GIFs and stuff that are built in here if you wanted. So let's say, oh sure, let's go Michael Scott. And then you can actually scale it bigger if you want it.
Nice.
You can rotate it. Whee! Do they have any Jay's 2 cents gifts in here? Let's see. Hey!
Nice.
This is basically my life. Like, wait, what was I doing again? I forgot.
It's like you're inside the computer looking for components now.
I'm looking for pricing to return to normal.
Yup.
This is so good. I love that it's all built in because it's just accessing the same GIF library. Okay, so if you don't want a GIF, you can upload your own even if you wanted. Let me upload an image. I downloaded some images that I thought were kind of neat. So there's that one. Wait, here we go, Phil, you ready? Wait. So it's just like, doo. That's a cool looking one. So now you could do something like this, and then you can go back to your overlay, and then we can do our overlay on there. Now, obviously you might look at that white and be like, I don't like that. So you could change the color of it here. Blue obviously wouldn't be great, but you can change your background. Now the cool thing is, because of the fact that it's got this border around it, you could go into Photoshop, honestly, and just make yourself a really cool border for around the overlay, and then maybe blur or make just a soft transparency in that middle section there. So Windows, print screen. Hey, it did. So what you would do now is you could literally just copy that. I don't have Photoshop on this machine, but you could copy that into Photoshop, and now you know your safe boundaries. And then you could set that up as a template and then make a cool background or something on there. So you could go in there and make a really cool background for that. I was expecting this to be just a sensor panel that was only gonna show what was on there. I was not expecting it to be an actual screen. So that is definitely making me happy right there. Now the cool thing is you can rearrange all this however you want, right? So we can see liquid temp right there is at 26C. Okay, so this particular page right here is for setting up fan curves and fan profiles and such. You can see we've got our fan speed right now, right? Our pump speed, our fan speeds, etc. But because this is plugged into the motherboard directly, it's not being controlled by iUnity. We would have to control those by the motherboard header. But this software does work with basically all of like the Antec suite. So this one's a little bit different. But if you look at the display, we already took a look at that. Lighting, you can change the lighting zones too. The different modes are like it gradients or it breathes between them. So like breathing, right? It'll go dim and then come up with the next color. Gradient will just kind of blend the colors between each other, right? So it smoothly goes between the colors. And then steady, it's just gonna probably hard switch. Yep, there's a hard switch. And then fixed, it just stays at whatever color you set. But you can set colors per zone, just to kind of give you an idea. Like this would be a pretty, it's not looking too good because it's all mixing with so much white still showing, but that's an idea of just how fixed works. So the specs page just shows us everything about our system, right? What CPU we're running, what graphics cards we have. So obviously we have the internal graphics for AMD, we have the 5090 in here right now. The board is the Crosshair X870E Dark Hero, which just launched. Here's our RAM type, and obviously our storage. And then the dashboard is back to this. Now this still technically says beta. It says Unity 2.0 beta, but then if you go into settings, it says 3.0. Anyway, last thing to see here in the settings, you can switch it to Fahrenheit if you wanted. Nobody should really ever switch that to Fahrenheit. So the taskbar will show on that other display unless you turn it off in Windows. Now basically it just takes you straight to the page where you would need to go. Then you go to taskbar behaviors, and then you can turn off right here, show taskbar in all my displays. And then the configure Vortex display in Windows, that's specifically going to be bringing back up your display, because the reason for this is it doesn't know which orientation the screen is in. It doesn't know if you're going portrait or landscape, or in my instance, it was upside down, right? So I had to go in here and then just make sure I had the right display orientation. So the right orientation for me was landscape flipped, but this is the way it looked when I first got it turned on, because it was kind of assuming it was gonna be in portrait. If I just did landscape, it was upside down still. So you do all that in Windows, not within the actual software for the screen, which I kind of like better. Obviously, it's Windows handling it as a display, so might as well let Windows do it. Now, obviously, a lot of CPUs have built-in iGPUs in the CPU package. Intel does, AMD does. So what you wanna make sure is you have the right GPU selected here. Otherwise, like if I start FurMark right now, you'll see the GPU temperature usage says 0 and the temp is at 37. Clearly that's not correct. But if I go back into iUnity and just go to select GPU in the settings tab, I can just select 5090, boom. Now it shows us at 99% and at 61C. So that's cool, because now I'll be able to, at least like I said, on the GPU benchmark now, have a quick sanity check. Now that was stacked. What does compact look like? Ooh, that's even cooler. Okay, so that's cool, because now I can see CPU on the left, GPU on the right. That's the only information I'm truly interested about or in on this setup. Now I've got something I can visibly look at while a benchmark is running in full screen, just to validate, like, hey, things are boosting in temperature. I can see the temperature right off the bat. So that's actually really cool. I'm happy about that. Now let's go ahead and just turn off. Oh, I like the animation. Instead of it just having like an interval of updating, I like the way it kind of animates the little wheel coming down and then the bloop. But let's see how it does in Cinebench right now. Yeah, that's about right for an out-of-the-box 9800X 3D. The suckers like to go up quite a bit. It's only at 5 gigahertz right now. So what I'll be doing is setting it to 5.3 or 5.4 all-core with a negative offset, just to ensure that everything's running as cool as possible. I always run the fans at 100% also on the GPU bench, which keeps that down a little bit. But 82C in Cinebench, which is very hot, that's perfectly fine, because 95C is actually our TJ Max, so we're keeping it under there quite a bit. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, the cooler is pretty freaking, it's definitely the best middle ground between a dedicated sensor panel that you have to basically rip your hair out trying to set up, or have Windows rescale it in some way, and then AIDA64 forgets where things go, and then it like looks like you just dumped a bunch of parts out on the floor, but only it's a sensor panel at that point. It's rotatable, it's got some RGB. Price, it's $309 USD, according to the review guide. It's not cheap, but let's look at this real quick. I'm just curious right now. I mean, these really are just Raspberry Pi screens. And here's the thing, you've got to now wire a cable to the graphics card, you've got to wire power, you've got to come up with some sort of a mount, make it look pretty or something. Let's just say a decent screen is gonna run you about 50 bucks. That really makes the cooler about $250, which is still on the expensive side, but the fact that it's all built in and gives you that screen, I think makes it at least a more easy, justifiable price. And it puts it right in the price point of other AIOs that have like the waterfall screens or the bent wraparound screens, but then you're really still stuck using their ecosystem, their software, and you can't really truly customize it like you can an external screen like this is. So I'm really happy for that. And then the ball mount still is just one of the best ideas. Just let you move it around wherever you want. So many other brackets or mounts for screens on AIOs, you can like rotate it 90 degrees because it's a square, or you might be able to flip it like on one side. I think it's actually a pretty unique thing. And I love seeing it come from a company like Antec, because Antec has been around for decades. Like I said, the Antec P182 was one of the first Antec cases I ever had, and I modified the crap out of that, and it still brings back solid, fun memories of some of the early days for PC modding and stuff for me. But all right, we're gonna go and get out of here. This is the new GPU test bench. I couldn't trust the Taichi anymore, so let's hope this one serves us well. I've got some tuning to go in here and do. That's a whole separate time, and probably not a video on that, but I just need to get it set up and then start in spare time working through the benchmarks again to update them and get some more interesting titles on there that maybe showcase or benchmark different engines. That's the whole point about the titles that we choose. It's an engine benchmark, not so much a title benchmark. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Tell me what you guys think about the Vortex View 360 down below. There'll be a link to that. And then also thanks to ASUS for sending over the Crosshair Dark Hero board for us to use on our test bench. I'm feeling kind of lucky that our 9800X3D survived a whole year without anything nefarious happening to it. But I already had melted connectors twice, no, once, plus a bent connector. I already rolled those dice for years. I'm not about to take my chances with the CPU. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.